Hey.
How you doing? Come on, glasses. I wore
Oh,
mine
we're
on
glasses
today.
twins. Look at that.
Look, I did on purpose. Look, I try and make sure that I'm on the same wavelength as whoever my guests are. How you feeling today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing quite delightful. So I am going to do some introductions and we'll do some housekeeping and then we'll slide right on in. Sound good?
Perfect.
Awesome. So I am Connie S. Falls. I am a business development consultant, and all I care about is building systems for creative entrepreneurs. The last 13 years have been dedicated to making sure that people that look like me, and probably you too, make sure that we have systems in place for our businesses so that way we can genuinely create generational wealth. I created business in BS because business is wonderful and great and entrepreneurship sounds sexy these days, but there's also some BS that goes along with it. So sometimes the BS stands for business strategies, and sometimes it stands for the regular BS that comes along with being an entrepreneur and this wonderful journey that we're on. So today I have Miss Amber Aziza on deck. And if you would please introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, I'm Amber Aziza. I am trying to keep my phone from falling off my desk. There we go. I am the founder of AAE Corporation, which is a conglomerate of family-owned businesses. We help service companies from small startups to venture capitalists-backed seed-funded businesses, all the way up to Fortune 500 organizations. And we typically support on the employee engagement side of things, so making sure that people are happy so that they can be more profitable.
So, one, I want you guys to know that we're blessed to have Amber here today. I know her voice is this small, so we are not going to worry her to death with a bunch of questions. But if you do so have a question, make sure that you put it into the question box that's below, not into the comments, because the comments over time are going to go by really quick. So Amber, on here with Business and BS, we like to start from the beginning and really learn about who you are as a person. So kind of how because you're international, so you're not just here in the States.
Yeah.
So tell me about growing up. What did that look like for you? Were you here in the States? Were you born in the States?
Yeah, I was born in Kansas, in Fort Riley, Kansas, on military base. But I always say I was blessed. I was blessed to be born to two drug addicted, alcohol addicted parents. And I say blessed because had they not have made the decisions they made in their life, I wouldn't be where I am now. Both of my parents were super young. They were both like 19 and 20 when they had me. I was their only child, and they made a lot of poor decisions. So for me, I was in and out of foster care. I spent about a total of 3.5 years in foster care because Children's Services kept taking me away from them. And eventually, once my biological mother overdosed, Children's Services said, okay, we've got to find a home to place her in. And that's where my adoptive forever family came in. And it was, I don't like to paint a rosy picture and say, oh, it was like the best time ever. Like, it was like Annie. We had really, really great times, but we had some really, really like times that I will question them on now. Like, y'all know, I think y'all made a poor parenting decision when y'all did this. But they did the best they could. My father was a police officer. My mother owned a nursery school. We were a working class family. I went to private school my entire life, but my parents hustled to put me there. So it wasn't like it was silver spoon status. My dad used to joke and call me the queen of loopholes, because if there was a loophole, I could find it. If they made a rule, I would find the loophole to the rule. And so through a loophole, I graduated high school a whole year early. Literally 3 days before the end of my junior year, I was reading the student handbook and it says if I have X amount of credits, then I can graduate. I've been going to summer school. Therefore, I can graduate. So I just walked in the principal's office and said, yeah, so according to this, I'm done. Here you go. Exhibit A, according to this, I am now ready to graduate. Please roll my diploma to me. And so the next year they changed the handbook entirely. But they let me graduate, right? Because private school, we're talking about 10 G's a year. They're like, oh no.
We need that 10 G's, baby.
And so yeah, I finished in 3 years, went to college. In college, I was a hustler. So I was 16 years old in college, and I started taking internships immediately. Like,
Right.
employers would be like, wait, how old are you? Are you even legally able to be here? And I would, yeah, like, gray area, certain amount of hours. But I worked my way up that by the time I was 18, I was a training manager at Hickory Farms, Summer Sausage. Shout out to them. I went from being an intern to being a training manager. And then from there, I just grew. I am fortunate enough to have never had to have really interviewed, and I shouldn't say interviewed. I've never had to apply for a position. I literally was headhunted from the time I was 21 all the way until the end of my career, because I was just that good. I'm not even gonna front. I was really good at what I
Oh,
did.
yes. Give ourselves flowers, honey. We do that.
So I focused on training and development, organizational development. My specialty was being able to connect with millennials before millennials were even really like the buzzword. And so I would literally have executives dragging their millennial employees to my office and saying, why is he sitting watching TV at his desk? Fix him. It's like, that's not how this works.
Not how this works.
Right. But I loved it. I loved what I did. I was obsessed with what I did until I got to an employer that made me realize this is what everybody else is talking about. This is why everybody else hates working. Okay, I see it now. And so for me, that was a real eye opener, because I had never disliked my job until I got there. And it was just where I saw a lot of the politics happening. I was seeing a lot of the microaggression, racism happening that I hadn't really seen in the forefront before. I didn't have an advocate for me, so everywhere else I'd been, I was able to connect with someone quickly and get an advocate who could like back me up when I would like say something crazy. And I didn't have that there, and so I really felt like I'm just floating, just trying to figure life out. I made a lot of changes at the company. A lot of white guys didn't like me. A lot of old white men on the executive team did not like me at all. But I made them anyways. I didn't care. So I hit a point where I realized, wait, I'm never going to make more than what someone else determines that I'm worth. I don't like this job. I'm unhappy. I'm getting a bonus, but it was enough to be like, I could buy a Tesla. That's great. But for me, it was like, when you look at what the owner is buying, he's buying a boat. He bought an island. He had a massive house in Hilton Head. Like, he had a home in the Hamptons. And it was just like, but he's never here. He's never, ever here.
The life I ascribed, yes.
Right. And it's like, I'm always here. I'm here every day of the week, working, grinding, making things happen because I loved what I did. But then you hit a point where you're like, wait a minute, I'm paying for your house. I'm paying for your new cars. And then they put his sons as VPs, and it was just like, they just graduated college. Like, what is this world? And I didn't really feel a sense of jealousy or anger. It was really more of a sense of, I see how this game is played. Okay, gotcha.
Oh, okay.
Right, like, oh, okay, all right, I gotcha. And so from there, I said, okay, time for me to peace out. I quit. I quit before I got my bonus. Do not quit before you get your bonus. Wait till you get the bonus in your account, then quit. But I quit, and I said, I'm going to start my own thing. And so I did. I had already kind of started it on the side. I'd kind of just become known as like the millennial whisperer. So I was on the speaker circuit a ton. I was speaking. Lots of companies would reach out to me and say, hey, are you looking for a position? And I'd be like, no, I'm good. So for me, I'd already kind of started in just consulting other people that I knew who were in organizational development and saying, hey, are you, are you looking for help? Are you looking for a strategy with your millennials? Are you looking to connect with them? And so from there, I was able to build a business when I quit, like a full-blown business. It went from being like a hobby that I got paid for sometimes to like a business with like actual consultants and payroll and things that I didn't know anything about. But I worked through it and got some really dope mentors. sold that business and was able to, well, I wanted to retire. My dad said no. He's like, no one retires at 29. And so I said, okay, I guess I'll keep working. What am I going to do? And it just so happened I had lots of friends who were starting businesses. I came up in around that time where everyone was like, I'm an entrepreneur. And so a lot of my friends were like, hey, I need your help. Can you help me out? Hey, can you just look at this? Can I borrow your eyes? And so
Pick your
that, right, right, can I pick your brain? But even back then, I'd be like, yeah, that'd be like $1,500. That's not gonna call after you pay that invoice. And so for about a year or so, I was content doing coaching and just, supporting people that way until that bug kind of kicked back into me. And I was like, I could be doing so much more. I could be building generational wealth. And I knew that coaching, while it's amazing, and I'm sure there are lots of coaches in here, what's up to y'all? Coaching is not a sustainable plan to build a legacy multi-million-dollar business. It's just
come on, God. You're going to preach early in the day, girl.
Yeah. You need so much more. And that's not to say that you're not an amazing coach. And that's not to say that I didn't hit, the 7-figure mark with coaching. I did, because I charged a crap ton of money to do it, right? So that's how. But how can I help more people? How can I make a greater impact? How can I leave something for my children if I'm just coaching? And so I really started to refocus and say, what do I want to do? And the answer came really clear of, okay, you have siblings who are all amazing at what they do in their own fields. They all are 20, 30 years into their profession. Start pulling them out. Start working with them. Start asking, hey, what kind of business can we build around what you do? Okay, dope. You've been in headhunting for 20 years? Dope. We're going to build a headhunting company. Okay, you've been doing collections for X amount of years? Dope. We're going to build a collection agency. And it just kind of became, I call it my family jokes and calls it the Kris Jenner method, where it was literally like, if I could find $1 somewhere out of something, I was going to get it. Yes. And it was just, I would look at opportunities and say, okay, how can we make the most of this, and some people say, oh, that's exploiting. I don't care. Like, call me when your business looks like mine, right? Like it may sound cocky, it may sound arrogant. The reality is that a lot of people are doing business wrong. A lot of Black folks, we're doing business wrong because we're not being taught these things. We're not being taught that you have to diversify. We're not being taught that, you need to have multiple streams of income. And when we are, it's always some like rich dad, poor dad kind of, quote where you read it in a book and you're like, okay, I got my 9 to 5, I got my side hustle, and then I put a little bit of money in the stocks and now I'm supposed to become a millionaire from it. That's just not realistic. Those diversification needs to be really, really, really big. And so for me, I started building a conglomerate, and through the last 4 years or so, we've built about 8 businesses. Now, all 8 businesses were not designed to be forever, right? Sometimes you have to build a business because you just want to take it to a certain point, but you have to always constantly evaluate what the trajectory of your business is going to be. And when you realize that what you currently have is no longer going to fit that model, you have to start shutting things down, pivot, cut things out. And so, we started businesses knowing this isn't going to be a long-term thing. This might last 2 or 3 years, and we're going to have to fold it into this or sell the book of business to this company, and built it with that knowledge, just knowing it was just going to take us to where we needed to go and what its intent was, and then offload it and get to the next thing. So it's fascinating to me because I've always had old white men as mentors. I have. Not that they were my only mentors, but in my mentorship umbrella, I've always had at least one old white man who's willing to just give me game and be like, listen, you ain't gonna get that loan. I'm gonna tell you now. You can apply for it all you want. They're not gonna give you that loan. I can tell you exactly why, but I'm gonna tell you exactly how you can work around it. And so things like funding, things like, getting the right advisory team, things like building the right executives, nurturing my executives, because I recommend put everybody you know on. Like put everybody you know on. Everybody.
Wait, Cash, can somebody put that in the comments? Put everybody you know on. Somebody put that in the comments for me. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Everybody you know should be playing some sort of role in your company, right? I had my entire family at some point has worked for my company. We literally just had a conversation with my dad this morning trying to convince him to sign on because he, while being a police officer, is also, he has a master's in psychology with a focus in diversity and inclusion. We've been slammed with DEI requests. So my sister and I have been on the phone like tag teaming. I'm like, come on, we could pay you this 6-figure salary. Let's do that. My dad's like, I'm 73 years old. Y'all don't leave me alone. But everybody I know that has done well or that I can see like there's potential there. All right, come on, let's figure out how we build it. My executive team is built entirely of my family and friends. And on the flip side of that, I'm not afraid to fire a family or friend. Listen, I fired my mother. I fired and rehired my sister.
I fired my dad, I understand. It was rough, but
I fired my nieces, nephews, cousins. I fired friends. Like, I don't, listen, if it's not working, it's not working. I am the type, and I've said this before, I am the type that I can fire you on a Monday and show up to Thanksgiving on Thursday. Be like, oh my God, girl, you lost your job?
no, your job.
Worth. I'm sure you're going to find something else, sis.
God bless you. Oh, me, I'm not hiring.
Right.
But that is amazing. Keep going.
Yeah, but for me, it was really, how can I put people on? I've had clients that I worked with in coaching that, you know, had the passion, had the drive, but maybe weren't suited to run a business. Just because you have a great idea doesn't mean that you are equipped to run a business. And so I'll say, hey, why don't we just put you as VP of this? You come on board, we'll take your business under ours, and we will build it out the way you really want to see it, and we'll pay you an equity and a salary. You know, that for me is key. And I get really irritated when people say, well, when you're bringing on employees, like how are you empowering them? Because the 9-to-5 isn't going to help you. I need you to go look at some of the salaries of these CEOs, of these Fortune 500 companies, of these Inc. 5000 companies. They are not small numbers. They make more than most of us make in our entire businesses in a 5-year span combined. So it's important that, you know, you have kind of the person who's calling the shots, and then you have the people who are making it happen. And by people who are making it happen, I pour into them generously, and I make sure that they are equipped with the tools that they need. We are constantly putting them through training, sending them to conference, learn how to do this, expand how to do that. Oh, you just learned how to trade? Okay, dope. Partner with this person, and now we're going to work on this. So for me, it's all about, you know, I look at it like a soup. It's making all of my team members work together harmoniously to grow and expand an empire that, while yes, I own 70% of it, our other two business partners split the 30, but we have ownership that we pay out in equity to our team members. So our team gets paid in equity along with their salaries, on top of bonuses, on top of taking 2 months off a year. So as an entrepreneur,
with the European vacation package,
the London influences.
Yes. London be like, nah, I'll be back in 2 months. I'll see you when I get back.
Right. For me, you know, on top of doing all of that, that for me builds the empire. That builds loyalty. That builds growth. That allows the business to accelerate. People are often shocked when they see my numbers. Like, I'll go to my account and be like, oh my God, what are you doing? Are you selling drugs? What is going on? And I'm like,
turns out Amber is a drug dealer.
But it's really just a result of learning how to take and tap into somebody's talent and make it profitable and grow it as a business. Using my soup analogy, putting all the pieces in and then giving it a chance to kind of just form and meld together so that all of the things are blended, all of the flavors are blended. I mean, we don't have any team member on our team that only does one thing. Even our Filipino VAs don't do just one thing. If you come to me as a web developer, you better know how to do graphic design. If you come to me as a junior finance account manager, then you better also know how to do a little bit of marketing. Like, I don't want just one note people, because one note people are content with where they are. They're content with where they're going to stay. And they're not going to be proactive in looking for new opportunities to grow the business. They're not going to be proactive in looking for new opportunities to do and opportunities and ways to do what they do. They're going to just do things status quo. And while those people are great for some businesses, they're no good for mine. And so for me, that's been really important. It's just pouring into my team, growing my team, and really moving from entrepreneur working in the business to CEO working on the business. I gave you way more than what.
No, that's it. I was about to just get up and go get my little notepad and just come and sit back down. That wasn't more. That's everything that I need, because again, most small businesses are not hearing this conversation. It's the reason why I created this, is because they don't have access to these kind of conversations. There's nobody talking about growth strategies. There aren't people that are talking about here's how you build a team. There's no one that's talking about how to invest into your team and why it's important to create generational wealth, because a coaching company is cool, but when we pass, the coaching company is going to pass. Right. So we have to be able to build these teams, and most people are afraid of it, whereas you've invested into that. So let's take it back. You've built such a phenomenal organization. I've watched from the sidelines for years. I'm like, yo, when I tell you to see somebody Black, and all in London, honey, you should see her. If you're not following, make sure that you're following Aziza on Instagram, because if you've watched her journey over these years, you've seen the type of transitions, the conversations that she's having, who she's working with. And we're not just talking about just, hey, this is a small startup. She's working with billion-dollar companies and still taking the time to invest in her own team. So I want to take it back a little bit, because I feel like, you know, how we're raised and the circumstances that we've been through also impact our lives as adults. Do you think that any part of how you're and going through foster care and, you know, the things that happened with your mom, what impact do you feel like that had directly onto your life and where you are now?
I think it's made me super independent, in a good way and sometimes in a bad way. I have always been that person who will look out for me. One of the things that really sticks with me that I tell my mentees is, when I was having my 5th birthday, my parents at this time had split. My mother had moved us from Kansas to Toledo, Ohio. Shout out Toledo. And I was back in foster care for like the 2nd time. And she had come by to see me for a visit on my birthday. And she had I called him Uncle Jamie. I didn't know he was her pimp. I didn't realize he was her pimp until maybe like 6 years ago. And I was like, wait a minute, I think that was her pimp. So those kind of things just pop up randomly. But so they came to visit me for my birthday, and my mom and I were playing on the porch, and Jamie comes up and he says, yo, we gotta go. And she said, but it's her birthday. Like, we haven't been here that long. It's her birthday. And he said, do you want to sit here with her for her birthday, or do you want to eat? Because without me, you ain't eating. And that moment in my 5-year-old brain, 2 things popped up. Number 1, I never want anybody to be able to tell me what I have to do. And number 2, whoever makes the money is the one who's in charge. And that worked with me and came with me throughout my entire life, good or bad, indifferent. It came to me throughout my entire life, because it was this thought process of, I got to be the one to make the money. I got to be the one to make those decisions. I got to be the one to do that. I've got to be the one to make sure that I take care of everybody. Even when I got to my adoptive parents' house, it was like, I got to be the one to make sure that, you know, I can make extra money just in case something happens and I need to take care of my parents. And it was just like, what are you going to do? You're 8. But it was just that thought of, you know, without me, you don't eat. And I've never, ever, ever wanted anybody to be able to say that to me. And that was powerful. It resonated and rang throughout my entire life of, I always have to hustle, and I always have to make sure that I am providing and taking care of myself, because no one else is going to do it. And I think that it made me really strong in business as a result. But I think that in relationships, it probably wasn't the greatest thing because I've always been that person that's like, yeah, I don't need you. So you're either an asset or a liability. You're not feeling like an asset, so you must be a liability, so I'm out. And so that's, kind of the downside of it. But therapy works great.
Oh God, with the therapy.
Therapy will roll through and help you and help you work through all that. And cognitive behavioral therapy is the best. And so, really as an adult, learning to take the drive that I got as a result of that and apply it to my business, but not pour it into my personal life where I feel like, okay, I have the money, I'm making the decision, this is what we're doing, and giving people equal say in my life.
That when I tell you that is so, God, that is great work on yourself and being self-aware of how you became who you are. And that's why I like to start the conversations with how you grew up and how that impact came in, because in your mind, you probably never really identified that changing moment in your life where you were like, oh yeah, what you're not about to do is tell me if I can eat or not. That's what's not about to happen.
Right.
And being able to identify that and also identify how that's great when it comes to being a boss. Because I too have had the same problem because I grew up with my grandmother and great grandmother who mowed the lawn, they changed the tires, they did the fishing, scaled the fish and fried it. And they taught me, you don't need a man to do anything. So I grew up, I don't need you. I don't need you. And then I can't open the water bottle. I'm like,
I got it.
I don't need you, but if you don't mind, could you please? But that is such an amazing, transparent thing. And also what you said about therapy, it's okay, Black people, we can go to therapy. We're not crazy. Mm-hmm. There's traumas that we never have ever dealt with that we don't even realize we have, the PTSD that we have. We don't even know that we have it. Was there a moment in your life that triggered you to say, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and slide over to this therapist real quick and see what they're talking about?
I think there were probably not just one moment, but maybe a series of moments that collectively just made me go, I think I'm the problem. I think it was like, friendships dissolving and relationships dissolving. I kind of hit a phase in my life where I couldn't jumpstart any kind of a relationship. It just felt like it would crash and burn really quickly. And I remember talking to my father and him saying, you probably just need to go to therapy. I mean, when growing up, I went to therapy. It's part of the mandate of when you adopt a child from foster care that, they need to go through a series of sessions of therapy. So for me, I was used to going to therapy from 5 years old all the way up to 18. And so it wasn't taboo in our family. It was, therapy is good. You need therapy. Go to therapy. And so it was really that conversation with my dad of saying, all these things sound like you need to work through something else. There's something that's blocking you and you need to go to therapy to work it out. And I did. So it really worked.
You're like, I might, which is always the toughest thing to have to acknowledge. What are you talking about? It's my fault. Me?
I'm the problem?
Oh, that is the worst realization. I promise you, the first time I was like, oh, it's me? Yeah, this me. It hurt.
It does. It does feel like, you kind of feel like you're an Alcoholics Anonymous because you say, what is one of the steps is you're supposed to you're right, you're supposed to acknowledge it and you're supposed to reach out to other people that you've harmed as a result of your alcoholism. I was sitting there texting exes like, listen, that time that I told you that you could get hit by a bus, I didn't mean that. That wasn't me.
I meant it, but
I meant it at the time, but this version of Amber, she does not mean that.
Oh, I know that was some rough calls. I've made 2 calls like that in my life, and I was mad on the phone. Yeah, just want to tell you that that was my. Yeah, that wasn't you. Because we don't grow up wanting to think that we're the problem, right?
No, not at all.
It's never us. But turns out it is. But therapy, again, like we're saying, is a great thing. So hey, people of color, it's okay to go to therapy. We all suggest it. We all go.
Absolutely.
So understanding where that transition was in your life and making those changes and going through and being that hustler to make sure that you have access to whatever you want to have access to. First of all, sidebar, why did you just happen to be reading the student handbook in high school? Just real quick.
So I was reading the student handbook as almost a defiance to a teacher of mine. A teacher of mine was kind of going on a rant about how, like, we don't do the things that we're supposed to do. I bet you half of you haven't even read the student handbook. And so I was like, all right, dope. I'm gonna read the student handbook tonight. And then I go tomorrow and just randomly tell her all these things. And I came across, like, this is how many credits you need to graduate. And I was like, man, she's right. I should have read this a long time ago. I could have been done in 2 years. so I had to go back to her and say, like, oh, you're right. But I did read it. And let me tell you what came out as a result. So.
You're not going to see me next year. You're welcome.
Right.
So now you've made this journey, and I know we're going to get to some questions shortly, but as you've made this journey and you're like, yo, generational wealth probably starts with me helping on the inside of my family, right? I've gone through that. So people I've known, friends, folks that have worked with me, I'm always like, hey, come on, let's work together. Let's build something together because it's going to be greater. Here's equity and everything. Most people feel like you're taking away their right to be an entrepreneur. I can have my business, you have your business, you have your business. And I will also say that in the beginning of my business, I never hired anybody. I'll bring you onto my team, start a business for you. I'll hire your company so that way you have your own business. But I also realized everybody's not set up to be an entrepreneur. So part of that I take ownership for. But what did that look like for you to say, all right, I can build something that's greater with a team, and then starting off with that team being your family? Most folks are like, I ain't working on my phone.
I had that same mindset of, I don't want to work with my family. I don't want them. But I mean, starting out in my first company, I didn't have the money to hire an assistant. I didn't have the money to be like, okay, yeah, let me bring on this, $70,000 a year executive assistant. So my mom had retired and she was at home. I moved back in with my parents to start my company. And she's like, well, if you just need a little bit of help. And so I was like, okay, I'll put you on payroll. And it was, it started off as being really cute and fun. And then the business started growing and I was like, oh, wow, okay, I kind of need her to do way more. So firing my mom was the hardest thing because it was just
I love you.
Right. I really do enjoy your work, but your time with the organization has come to an end. We'll give you a lovely severance package. I'll start paying rent.
And I live here. Oh my God, you fired her.
I'll see you at dinner. Do you want to go to Bob Evans for lunch?
I'll take care of it because I just freed up some income.
Right. So it's funny, our CFO jokes that she's still technically on payroll because it's like we gotta make sure she's taken care of. So it's it definitely was a struggle for me, and it taught me a lot about myself. The first time my sister and I worked together and I hired her on, we fought non-stop. And we weren't sisters who fought growing up. So we just fighting non-stop. I was like, you're incompetent. She's like, you're bossy. And so I said, okay, you've got to go. And in the second second revival of bringing her back in, I realized that, I am really, really bossy. But I also realized, and she even said, I don't really like the business part of it. I like doing what I know what to do. I just don't like the business part of it. So it was really, we had a coming of minds of I'll handle this, you handle that. And if there's ever a clash between the two, we got a third party who will come in and be like, this is what we need to do. So it really is, it allows you to hold a mirror up to yourself when you hire your family members, because kind of the thoughts that you've grown up with thinking about those individuals come out in, magnified form. And it's very revealing because you're like, oh, I love my favorite cousin. They were amazing. And then they get in your business and secretly you've always thought gosh, that person is so lazy. And then they get in your business and now you're really like,
turns out I
knew she was lazy, right? So it becomes, you come in with almost bias against your own family. I was harder on my family members than I would be on our, outside employees that we would hire. For me, it really allowed me to see a lot about myself and to help me grow as a leader. Because if you can't manage and lead your family members, at least one, at least one of them, then you want to get some leadership training because, and that's what I did. I got leadership training because while I've been used to being an executive, I wasn't used to having to kind of be the weeds along with running the business. So that was new for me.
So leadership training is something that in our community, you just don't like where am I going to go to get taught to be a leader? And because one, most of us haven't had that leadership role in our own households, where would we even think, where did you get that idea in your mind? You're like, I need leadership training.
I came from an organizational development background, so I kind of had a bit of a leg up on everyone else in that I knew leadership training was. I prescribed it many, many times. In my corporate life, they used to call me the hatchet in the HR side because I had terminated over 300 plus people in my career. And mind you, my career was only 9-10 years long.
Oh, wow.
For me,
You getting fired. You getting fired.
it got to the point where people would break into tears if they were told, hey, go to Amber's office. It was like, no, please don't. I'll just go get my stuff. And it's like, no, I just need you to sign this. Like, you didn't sign it.
E-sign it. I don't even want to come in here.
Right. Like, we didn't get a copy of your driver's license. Like, we're not terminating you. But for me, one of the things that when we put someone on a progressive action plan, one of the things we would always recommend, especially if they were a manager, is we need you to take leadership training. You need to learn how to lead. You know the aspects of your job, you know the skills required for your job, but to manage and lead people, you need to be a leader. And that is not something that comes naturally to everyone. Heck, even the people it comes naturally to still need to learn how to lead people who don't perfectly fit or naturally fit into their management style. So when I realized, like, wow, I am blowing through a lot of employees in my company, like, wow, I can't seem to work well with any of my family members. It really was one of those, I think the problem is me. Let me get some leadership training so I can learn how to be a better leader.
Oh, the transparency is just so, like, we need these kind of conversations. Okay, so we're gonna go to the I see y'all with all the questions, 50,000 questions in here. We're gonna get to some of those. All right, so we're gonna start. Did you not face the Black women corporate struggle?
So, okay, this is a good question. I did not face it until I got to my last job. The last company I worked for is where I finally saw what everyone else was talking about. And when I say I didn't face it, meaning I didn't see it outwardly. I grew so quickly in the ranks, and I kind of had a sixth sense of places that I'm going to be accepted and places I'm not. I would interview with a company that was trying to hire me, and I would get the sense from the interview of like, no, no, everything I do is going to be questioned here. So no, I'm good, thanks. I went and worked for a department that was predominantly white, and it was my first experience of working with a 100% white team, and that was, I thought I would have more issues than I did, but I had someone who was an advocate for me and who, you know, in those closed door meetings, if something was said like, oh, we should check Amber's work, oh, we need to do this, oh, we need to do that, it would really be that person stepping up and saying, you guys are being ridiculous. Why do you really want to check her work? You didn't check anybody else's work. Why are we doing this? And same for when I joined my next company where I had my first executive role, the owners of the company were husband and wife, and they were just like, I call them renegades. Like to this day, they're still mentors of mine because they would just be like, this is what we're doing. We're putting a Black girl in this role. She's 24. She's making 6 figures a year. We're giving her our entire training in HR departments. Go forth and build. It's just
Yes.
like, oh, okay. I mean, I haven't managed HR before, but okay, I'll take it. I'll work on it.
No problem.
So they were more focused on what are your results. And so I would see them lay into white executives in executive meetings, which y'all don't realize is there's so much screaming and yelling that happens in executive meetings. Sometimes it can be a very toxic environment, but I would see them lay into white executives like regularly. And almost, I feel like almost the reverse happened, that they would not lay into me as much because I was the only Black executive. So where I'd have to be like, okay, no, I need you to tell me what you didn't like about that launch. I need you to tell me what you're doing about this. And so it was it was really a great environment. And when I left them and went to the last organization that I worked for, that's where I saw we're constantly checking your work. We're not giving you all the details. Oh, you were reporting to HR. Now you're reporting in through marketing. And it's like, marketing, what does marketing have to do with organizational development? Like, what is going on? And then like, oh, well, why did you do this? Or who made you decide to do that? Or we're telling you to do this. And then when you do it, well, that's not what we wanted. And it felt like I could never get things right, to the point that the chief IT officer came into my office one day and said, I just got to let you know they're gunning for you. And I was like, why? Like, why? And he's like, I just got to let you know. I can't say why. I'm not even sure if the reason I think why is why, but I got to let you know that your name is coming up in a lot of meetings. And when the results are good, it's attributed to your team, which was predominantly white. But when the results are bad, it's being attributed to you. And that was the first time I really had ever experienced that. And it was just like, what on earth? But it was finally kind of one of those moments where I said, oh, this is what all my friends had been saying. This is what all my girlfriends who were in executive roles had been telling me they were dealing with. And I was like, girl, I've never done that. But to finally be thrust into it and feel the impact and go home stressed and upset and crying, and not to mention it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which there are not a lot of Black professionals hanging out in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was tough. It was really, really tough. But yes, I did deal with it in my last position.
Got it. All right. So what we have here, how do you approach the conversation to bring on family?
The conversation has to be different depending on what you're asking them to do. So for my sister, bringing her on the second time, the conversation was a lot different than the first. The first time it was more of a, hey, I've got this business and girl, come on board, it'll be fun. And that didn't work out well. But the second time, there were expectations laid out. We wrote out exactly what the expectations were. We laid it out. Any person that works for my company, if they're a friend of mine or if they're a family member, because I treat my friends like family, they know that they aren't going to report to me. Now, my sister reports to me because she's an executive. But even there's checks and balances there. I really had a serious conversation with them, asking them, what do you feel comfortable not doing? Like, what are the things that you're like, I don't feel comfortable doing this? And if it's something that's like, that's an essential part of the job, I can't take that out. But if it's something that's like, I don't like having to like tell you X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, then tell our chief business development officer, tell him. And then he can tell me, and then I can tell him to yell at you for doing whatever. Don't yell at your employees, y'all.
Please don't.
Please don't yell at them. But just really learning that balance. But having the conversation is important. Lay out your expectations. Let them know you're an employee just like everyone else. And I will let you go just like anyone else if you're not creating results. I'll put you on a progressive action plan. And it's not personal, it's just business.
Got it. All right. So can she break down the equity payment?
In relation to our team members, yeah, okay, so we take 2% of all of our profit goes to our kind of a kitty, a bucket, and during bonus time, on top of the bonuses that they get based upon their own work. So if you hit your goals, you hit your timelines, you do what you're supposed to do, you hit your sales goals, you get a bonus, right? But on top of that, you get a company bonus. So if our company hits the goals, if our company does what we have to do, and we get profit from that, that 2% is split amongst the employees.
Well, there go an easy answer. Look at y'all. Right to the point. All right. How did you have, I'm assuming, have the logistics to organizing everyone's tasks and responsibilities?
Okay, so systems play a huge part in that. Huge part in that. For me, I don't try to do everything. Sometimes the answer to who isn't you. Allison Bird taught me that. She said, Amber, you take on too much. And sometimes the answer to who is not you. So having systems in place help. Having an HRIS, which is Human Resource Information System, that tracks your employees, lets them log in and clock in. It also lets them request time off, but it also gives them positions and roles and says, this is what you do and this is who you report under. Starting out, you'll have people, of course, reporting to you, but as you grow, you want to distance yourself from the line level, and that sounds awful to say, but you want to put a layer between you and the people doing the actual step-by-step work. The reason is because if you're the one checking everybody's work in Airtable, Basecamp, Monday, whatever, if you're the one who's checking everyone's work, if you're the one who has to give them back feedback, if you're the one who's doing all these things, it's just too much, right? But it's important that you have those systems so that if you're like me and I'm a control freak and I need to be able to see where we are on a project, then having a system, we use Airtable, love Airtable, having Airtable, having Slack so that I can message my team and communicate with them regularly, being able to see in our human resource information system, we use HR Partner, but being able to look in and see, oh, that's why web dev isn't talking to me today. They're out of office today. But being able to do all of that requires systems and requires those systems to talk to each other and to really work with each other. I used to think that having tons of systems were the answer. Like I had every system you could think of. And that just created confusion for me and the team. So we really narrowed it down and found that we had so many systems that did what the other systems we already had could do. So we had to scale down a bit and say, okay, we don't need all of these. Plus, we're wasting a lot of money. But yeah, systems is definitely the number one way that I can keep the logistics side of everyone organized.
Come on, systems. Yes, God. I appreciate it. And I think people are so afraid. One, the word system seems big and scary, but really it's the way you run your business. It's just rules and there's policies and there's procedure. You want to know how things go from this to this. How do you get from here to here? So it's not a big, scary word. It's something that helps you genuinely run your business. Mm-hmm. So if you can tell, Amber, if you could tell entrepreneurs, you could stand on a mountaintop with a megaphone and you could say one thing. Here, I wish y'all knew this. Oh. What would that thing be?
I wish y'all knew that 80% of your Instagram faves are not making the kind of money that you are even making.
I'm about to go. I'm not about to go. You know what? Thank you for coming. I'm not even coming back on screen. You're not finna tell. You done telling the truth today?
I say this because, and I want to expound upon that for you guys, because people say that all the time, right? Like, oh, your Instagram page aren't making any money. There are some that are killing it, but the people that I know who are making 7, 8, 9 figures a year, I have a mentor who just crossed the billionaire mark. He doesn't have an Instagram. He's not even on Facebook. Like, you don't have to be the face of your business. I was so excited the other day because, and I texted a couple of my girlfriends like, oh my gosh, I hit my milestone. One of our consultants was on a call with me, on a wrap-up call with me, and she said, Amber, I feel like I need to tell you this. I really hope you're not mad. And I was like, what happened? And she said, I was on a call with a client and, we service corporations. And so she says, I was on the call with a client and they didn't know who you were. They asked for an extra add-on and I told them, oh, I think we'll have to check with Amber on that. And they said, who's Amber? And I feel like I failed you somehow because surely at some point I should have had said your name, introduced who you were and all this. I was so happy that they didn't know who I was. This is like my life's work. Is to have a client sign on and they have no idea who I am. They don't give a crap who I am because they're like, I care about the company. Who's Amber? I don't know and I don't care, right? That's the reason we changed the name from Amber Aziza Enterprises to AAE. Why? Because I didn't want my name on it. You can't build that empire with my name attached to it and my face has got to be there and I got to be on Instagram every day flossing and stunting and acting like this and doing this and here's my life and let me show you this. When I want to take a break, I take a break. When I want to disappear, I disappear. Some of your Instagram faves that are out there that are stunting exactly that. They are stunting. They are not really living the life that they're telling you they're living. They're struggling with their bills. They're getting EIDL loans. They're struggling. Okay, so please, please, please don't compare yourself to them. Don't use their ruler to measure up your life. You are the one that you should be measuring yourself up against. Your goals should be what you focus on. Don't look at somebody getting on a private jet. Don't look at somebody buying a Bentley. Don't look at all that. Don't look at all that. That's smoke and mirrors. That's smoke and mirrors, right? Now, there are some who are killing it, who are very visible on Instagram and are genuinely killing it. Maya Elias is one of them. I love that. I love her. She's my boo. Megan Ward is killing it. Pollyanna Reed, E. Seaman. Just so many amazing women who are just killing it. Fallon Rice, Emily Dela Cruz. But there are a lot of people. For every one of them, there's 30 IG stunners out there. Probably more like 1,000 IG stunners out there with 100,000 followers and can't pay their rent next month. So please don't feel like you have to measure up to them. That's not entrepreneurship. That's not. Gary Vee became an entrepreneur before he became Gary Vee, right? He had a multi-million-dollar business before he became the dude everybody knows. Grant Cardone was a real estate mogul before he became Grant Cardone that everybody knows. So please stop trying to build up this online persona as if that is the key to building a multi-million-dollar business. For some, it might be, but for most, it's not. So focus on just building the business. And the rest is just extra.
She told you. I am so grateful for you saying that, because in this space, like, social media for me is cool, but I'm like, I just really be scrolling. They're like, it's cool, but you can't get so caught up with it that you're not really doing the work. Mm-hmm. And because I'm on the back end of a lot of these people, I've seen what that really looks like. I have a client now who literally maybe has 300 followers on her business page, and she hit me up, and by the time we finished all of our paperwork, we were at $30,000. She's like, okay, well, where do you want me to send it? Mm-hmm. But if I had just looked at her page and was like, oh, she don't have enough followers, she don't have any money, like, followers does not equate to cash.
Absolutely.
At all. Because clearly, if you look at our Instagrams, even me and Amber, that doesn't have anything to do with what's on our bank account.
Right. I had someone reach out to me and say, like, hey, you have such a small following. Why don't you work on building it? Why do I have to? The people who follow me organically. Like, they came and found me. Someone said, hey, follow Amber. Like, I don't feel like I have to, because my business is separate and apart from Amber the person, right? IG is Amber the person. Facebook is Amber the person. But Amber the business doesn't need Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or any of that. And that's not to say those things are bad. They're not bad. But here's how you tell if someone's really living the life that they say or if they're just stunting. Listen to how they talk and what they talk about. If they're just talking funnels, but they never really ever talk about anything else, they never talk about what they've invested or their business in, they've never talked about what causes they're supporting, they're just talking about this one singular, granular thing. It's because that's all they know. That does not an empire build. That'll make you a lot of money, low-hanging fruit at first, but that does not an empire build. Right?
Not about it.
So if you follow people like Ashley Ann King, love her. I love her, right? She will talk about everything under the sun in relation to business. She'll talk about payroll. She'll talk about building her company. She'll talk about having to deal with taxes. She'll tell you straight up, yeah, you make this amount, you have to save this amount in your taxes. So listen to what they're talking about. Maya Elias is doing a great story today about finances and saving and investing and knowing what your net worth is. And she's breaking it down and giving you the tools. Listen to what they talk about, right? If it's just flash and glam and beauty and, oh, look at me and I'm so cute and vacation and Bentley and private jet and this and that, and they never talk about anything of real substance, that's because there isn't any there. That's all I got.
I hope y'all got all this today. I hope y'all got all of this today. Again, I know our time goes by so fast. It's already been close to an hour, but I do want to make sure that you have time to tell us what you have going on, how we can follow you, what products or anything that we can support.
Absolutely. So you can find me at Amber_Aziza on Instagram. I have a Facebook group called The Secret Guide to Business for Women of Color. I share tons of info and tips and tricks there, just things that I've learned. I get real talk in there. So I'll tell you like the breakdown of a marketing plan, and I'll show you like X% of people will buy this, this, and this, or I'll share new studies or tell you how to read a 10K report. So that's kind of where you can learn how my business side of my brain works. But if you just want to see behind the scenes of my life, you can follow me here on Instagram. I do have a free masterclass for those of you interested in growing your business but supporting it through speaking. It's called my brain just froze on me. It's called the 5 steps of the 5-step blueprint of building your profitable business or profitable speaking career, even if you're at home. You can just go to WeMakeGreatSpeakers.com, and that is where you can get the free masterclass. It gives you all the goodies. It's about an hour and a half, so make sure you save some time to take it. But I share all my secrets there about how I was able to take speaking and let it really elevate my business and let it grow, so that I became the person who could afford to hire on employees.
Ooh, that's a whole nother. I have to have you come back another day and just really go into that, because all of this is so important. And I promise you guys, I hope you guys took notes, that you listened, because these are the conversation again that I'm blessed to be able to, be on the back end of businesses just like you are, Amber, to be able to have these conversations. You have a dope circle of friends. You have a dope group of women that you can call and be able to say, hey, I got a question, or hey, I need to complain. You can't call and complain or talk to everybody about it. So I'm glad that you have amazing people that are around you. And thank you again for coming on today and sharing with this audience, because I promise you, somebody got all this is going on somebody. Somebody in their feelings, they trying to get their wig back on. Y'all, everybody edges okay? Y'all straight? Y'all good? Okay, well, Amber, thank you again for your time. You guys, make sure you follow Amber_Aziza on Instagram. You can go to her page and you can find all of her information there. Again, I love y'all, and if you need me, DM slide. God bless. Bye.